throwing a personal anecdote out. I mean, I've been, I've been in charge of a lot of things. I've got a lot of leadership experience. And I tell everybody that'll listen, Rose, the one skill that I really wish that I would have gotten better at earlier, and I would have been even more successful, was the art of listening. It's not that I didn't listen or wasn't willing to listen, but I was so confident in my abilities that I often did listen, waiting for the other person because I already had the answer in my mind. 10 words into their homily, I already knew what I was going to say. So I was listening to get my chance to talk until I was probably in my late 40s. I worked for an executive who was very seasoned, had been in a lot of big companies, and that guy had the art of listening down pat. He not only would let me in our one-on-one meetings speak for 20 minutes if I had to, but he had a memory to where he could say, okay, Mike, so what I'm hearing is A, B, C, and D. You said this, and let's talk about that. It just showed me I could talk for 20 minutes, and he was listening.
Absolutely.
And and you know what? He was so experienced, Rose, that I got to believe most of the time he had most of the answers 5 minutes into my speech, but he listened and let me talk. And I think there were times that, well, maybe in minute 18, I said something that negated what he would have said in the first 5 minutes. So I really point that at myself. And I'm saying this not for your benefit, obviously, but for the benefit of the listeners. It is a learned skill, and if you can master the art of applying it, I think you will become a much more effective leader much quicker. Any last thoughts on this?
Yeah, and I think even as husbands and wives, as significant others together, um, friendships, the worst thing on earth is to not feel listened to, you know? And when you talked about this man, he acknowledged what you said and he was building off of it. All of a
Yes.
sudden you're like kind of shocked. Somebody's actually listening to me. They're building off of. So I'd like to move away from dialogue, which came from the ancient Greek, right? Having a dialogue meant that you were exchanging, but you were building off the other. Instead, we end up with dueling monologues. You go on the
Yeah.
news, you got dueling monologues. Let me tell you what I think. Oh, this is what I think. And I even say it to my husband, Ron, did you just hear what I said? Do you think you could like just build off of what I just said or acknowledge that you heard it? Because I'm not interested in a new thought right now. I want to talk about it. And we love each other very much, 46 years of marriage, but it is one of those things that really is my nemesis. I don't, I really want someone to know I've heard them. I want them to know that I care. I was talking with someone very recently that I have had a really wonderful relationship with and learned as much from as they may have from me. And I remembered what a beautiful thing he did at a meeting that we were at. We were at a dinner and he ordered the person's food who was coming late to make sure that they were going to get something to eat. And then this guy had shot in a really kind of nasty email to his boss, and boss was a little taken back. And he said, you know what? Maybe he's having a bad day. Gave that person the benefit of the doubt. And I remembered that and I shared it back and it, like, can't believe that you remember that. I said, well, it struck me. It struck me. It's such a wonderful leadership skill.
Yeah.
There's a beauty in having someone pay attention and bring it back to you. So, and I, like you, was not particularly great at it when I was younger.
Yeah.
Although it was pushed on me by my dad. I have to say that was one of the things I worked hard at, because my father, it meant so much to him.